Hey, this is Dr. Barry. Let's discuss for just a few minutes about the topic of will grilled meat give you cancer? If you grill your meat over an open flame, will that increase your risk of developing cancer? We hear this all the time in mainstream media. And before you throw that next steak on the grill, we need to discuss this so that you can have an educated, informed opinion about whether this is in fact true or whether this is one of those myths or lies that you can safely and happily ignore. Now, if you know anyone who's afraid to grill meat, who's afraid to char grill or get the char on their meat or veggies on the grill, please share this video with them and help them understand as well. Now, let's talk about this. The National Cancer Institute says that if you grill meat over a hot open flame, and develop any char on the meat at all, then your meat is going to be full of heterocyclic amines. It's going to be full of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and it's going to be full of acrylamides, all of which have been shown in animal studies to increase your risk of cancer. Now, there is a tiny element of truth to this, and that's why I want you to watch on because I'm going to get to this and explain this in detail so you can stop worrying about this, okay? You hear news reports about this all the time, right? And so the news loves to talk about dangerous and inflammatory things. They don't like to talk about, oh, guess what? This is not dangerous. There, go have a good day. Because that's not clickbait. That doesn't help them get more views. It doesn't help them get higher advertising rates. So you never hear that kind of news story, and that's why they only report on things that scare you or worry you or things that you'll be like, oh my God, I've got to stop this, that, or the other. That's how news is made these days, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. And so many of the news outlets have picked up on this story and they just parrot it without any kind of scientific rigor. They don't have a science editor who goes and looks at the studies and say, does this really apply to me and you in our backyard grilling on a Saturday? Is it really relevant? And then so many experts in the paleo, primal, ketogenic community have just kind of picked this up and started parroting it as well without really thinking about it. And so all the leaders in these fields, they really need to think this through and do their research before they just blindly say, oh, you better be careful about grilling your meat. It could cause cancer. So let's talk about this. I don't think that grilling your meat is in any way dangerous to you or your family or your young children or even your babies who are just starting to cut their teeth and eat a little bit of table food that you give them. I don't think there's any research that's compelling in any way. So let's go over the common sense of this first and foremost. And I think in this case, it almost wins the day. But then we're going to go over the research as well. So I'm going to give you five kind of nuggets of knowledge that you can chew on, and actually you can grill them and char them on the grill, and then chew on them. So number one, let's talk about the common sense of this. Now we have archaeological and anthropological evidence that human beings have been cooking meat at high temperatures over open flames for 1 million years. And so a wise man once said, anytime science or modern thinking says, oh, you know that thing we've been doing for 1 million years? Oh, it's dangerous. That makes no sense. If what we had been doing for 1 million years caused cancer, we'd be extinct, right? But actually, we've flourished and we now run the planet. So just on its face, the common sense thought about this, it's a silly thing to say. It's like saying, oh, the sun, it causes cancer. And if you think that's true, then you should check out some of my other videos in my book, Lies My Doctor Told Me, because the research is also not there for that. So the common sense, we've always grilled meat over an open flame. There's archaeological evidence and evolutionary evidence that that's why we have such big capable brains, is that we started to cook our food and we started to cook over an open flame. You couldn't broil, you couldn't braise or poach 800,000 years ago. You put your meat on a stick and you held it over the fire. And if you've ever tried to do that, you know there's no way to cook that meat without getting char on there. That's just how it's done. So number one, this is just silly on its face. There is no common sense behind this myth whatsoever. Now let's talk about the actual scientific research, and I really want to put air quotes around the scientific research part. So first and foremost, are there any randomized controlled trials in humans that show that the heterocyclic amines, the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and the acrylamides that are produced when you grill your meat, do they increase the risk of cancer in humans? So I hesitated making this video, and I've been studying this for a few months because I thought, man, I must be missing something, right? There's got to be a study somewhere. Yeah, there's not a single randomized controlled trial that in humans that shows this at all. Zero, none. There's none. Okay. So if you find one, please overnight it to me, email it to me immediately because I will retract this video and make a new one. But I can't find the randomized controlled trial in humans. And so now there are rat studies and mouse studies that show that these three things that are produced when you grill meat over an open flame, that they do increase the risk of certain kinds of cancers. But here's the problem with that. There's several problems. Number one, rats and mice are different from us. Rats and mice never in their entire life eat cooked meat. Rats and mice in the wild, right? They never eat that. Secondly, never in their evolutionary history did they eat grilled meat ever. So that's like saying I'm going to feed these rabbits grilled meat and look, they got cancer. That's number one. So it's not even their natural ancestral food. Number two, they gave the mice and the rats thousands of times the dose that you would get just from grilling your food on your grill on a Saturday afternoon. So yeah, probably you should avoid eating 1,000 char grilled hamburgers. That might increase your risk of cancer if you eat 1,000 hamburgers in one sitting. Probably if you eat 500 grilled charred ribeyes in one setting, that might increase your risk of cancer. Yeah, that's true. I totally agree. You shouldn't do either one of those things. But do you see, this is silliness to then say, to feed something that doesn't eat grilled meat 1,000 times the dose that we would eat, and then say, oh, look, that proves it. No, it doesn't prove anything. Okay. Now let's talk about the studies that have been done in humans. These are all prospective epidemiological studies. And if you've seen any of my other videos, we've talked about this at length. Those are terrible studies. They prove nothing. All they do is give the researchers an idea that they can maybe design a randomized control trial around. They don't prove anything. They don't prove causation. They might show association, but when you look at the actual studies, the relative risk and the causal part of this is just, it's anemic, it's pitiful, it's terrible. And so all of these studies, and then also these studies are done using the infamous food frequency questionnaire, which asks questions like, how many cups of ribs have you eaten in the last year? Who can answer that question? So that's the silliness that when you see that news article, mounting research suggests that grilling your meat increases your risk of cancer. And so if you do a stupid study that proves nothing, and what if you have 100 studies like that? Is that mounting evidence? What if you have 1,000 studies that don't show any causation whatsoever and have a very, very weak relative risk? Does that prove anything? Is that mounting research? I don't think so. I think that's silliness, that people who don't want you to eat meat and don't want you to eat grilled meat, like we've been doing for the last million years, I think they're trying to use that to sway your opinion, but there's no scientific rigor in any of that. Okay. Now, the next thing I want you to know is that there are hundreds of times more, like the acrylamides, right? That's one of the things that they say is in grilled meat that is dangerous for you. I want you to understand that there are hundreds of times the amount of acrylamides in fried or grilled veggies than there are in fried meat or in grilled meat. Okay. Cocoa powder has more acrylamides than your ribeye that you just grilled on the grill. Okay. Crackers, including graham crackers, have hundreds of times the amount of acrylamides than your hamburger that you had a flare up, right? And you got a little crispy on the edges. Graham crackers have more acrylamides than that. Starbucks coffee has acrylamides in it from where they roast the beans. That's just normal. Okay. Now, let me tell you why you really shouldn't fear this at all. The other primates, all the primates have a system of detoxifying things that they've eaten, and it's called the CYP3A4 pathway, and that's how we detoxify the things that we've eaten. So humans have a special CYP3A4 pathway that's twice as strong and actually completely different than any other primate. It's almost as if we've evolved over the last million years to really be able to detoxify any of this stuff in our grilled meat. And so we can just use the grilled meat as nutrition. Isn't that funny how, as over the last million years, we've kind of developed this special system that, and so unless you're eating 1,000 grilled hamburgers and you have the CYP3A4 pathway of another primate, you're probably pretty darn safe to get some good char on the edge of that T-bone steak. Okay. So, one thing I would caution you about when you're grilling, and Nisha brought this up. That's my wife, Nisha Salisbury. You can follow her stuff on Nisha Loves It. Just Google that. But she said, we really do need to be careful about if we use matchlight charcoal or if we use lighter fluid to heat up the grill. And I totally agree because our ancestors a million years ago didn't have that stuff. And so I think it's fine to use matchlight charcoal and I think it's fine to use lighter fluid, but you need to make sure that all of that has burned off and all you have left is the superheated gray ashy charcoal because that's just like our ancestors cooked on a million years ago, right? But don't be jumping the gun and throwing your meat on there while there's still those hydrocarbons burning off. That probably will increase your risk of cancer. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see others like it, please take 1 second and consider clicking that subscribe button and then the little bell beside it. If you click that, every time I get a bright idea, you'll be one of the very first to know. Please follow me on my Facebook page. I do a lot of work there trying to demystify and get rid of the myths and lies about human nutrition. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm all over the place trying to stay busy all the time. If you'd like to support me a little bit and so I can have more time to make more videos like this, you can click on my Patreon link. It's right down below. You can sign up quickly and you can throw a buck or two my way so I have more time to make videos just like this for you. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.